Starting off in Kenshi is a difficult journey. When you begin, you're nothing more than a potential slave or potential food for most factions. To address the variety of threats out in the wasteland that is Kenshi, new and experienced players alike decide to buy property in an existing city. Most cities offer protection in the form of well-trained guards, and each city has unique amenities which act as a foundation for your squad's development. Not all cities are created equally though, so in this guide, we'll be covering the top 3 cities for the early game. Each city mentioned will be ranked based on several criteria. First, the city's location. This will take into account how important nearby areas are for that city. Second, the faction. This is going to assess if the controlling faction for the city has certain restrictions that might hinder the player. Third, shop ranking. This is going to be based on the number and the quality of the shops available within the city walls. And there's going to be a property rating, which is going to judge a town's available real estate for purchase. And last but not least, there will be a final score dedicated to other amenities the cities have, which make them stand out. Alright, we're going to start off strong with the city of Squin. It would be a serious mistake not to discuss Squin when talking about the best cities for the early game, because Squin has a lot to offer. You could almost say it's tailored in a way towards newer players who are looking to get started. First off, it is in the border zone, and the border zone is one of the better areas early in the game because it's not as risky as nearby regions, but when you are ready to move on from the border zone, you'll have a variety of different options to increase the difficulty as well as the rewards for adventuring. As far as the faction occupying Squin, having property in the Shek Kingdom is one of the better options. The Shek are a great faction to be protected by. They do have drug checks, but hemp itself is not illegal, it's just the hashish that's illegal. For shops, Squin has 2 bars and 4 other shops. The armor shop and the travel gear shop in particular are useful for new players who are getting started, since medical supplies, backpacks, and splints are very important. In terms of real estate, Squin will have 2 collapsed longhouses and 2 regular longhouses. While there aren't smaller buildings available in Squin, I wouldn't hold it against the town because these collapsed longhouses that are for 7,200 cats are an absolute steal. After repairing these buildings using 16 building materials, you overall get a heavy discount on a larger building. Just for context, the cost of 16 building materials is around 1,700 cats, so you're effectively getting a longhouse at about a 10,000 cat discount. In terms of unique amenities, you'll be able to locate 2 iron veins that are close by and 2 copper veins that are also close by. Given Squin's central location and its variety of accommodations for new players, it is no wonder why it is often chosen as a place to get started. If you're looking to stay towards the center of the map and you're not planning on cozying up with the Holy Nation, then Squin is the clear choice for a starting city. For those who don't mind living in Holy Nation territory, Stack is the clear choice at the start of the game. Stack rivals Squin's claim to fame due to excelling in a similar way. Geographically speaking, each area near Stack presents a small to moderate increase in difficulty, with the city being close to the center of the map as well. The surrounding area, so long as the player is on neutral terms with the Holy Nation, is remarkably safe. By most measures, it is even safer than the border zone. The biggest hurdle, as you might imagine, is coexisting with the faction here in Stack. The trick is that Holy Nation soldiers don't always make for the best neighbors. But if you know what sets them off, then you're not going to have any problems. For best results, here's what you're going to want to do. Don't let any of your characters travel around alone without a male Scorchlander or Greenlander in the party. Ideally, your female Greenlanders and Scorchlanders should be accompanied by a male too, because if not, they might get confronted by the guards. It's also a good idea to carry a copy of the Holy Flame on you at all times. This will calm down the guards if they question you for some reason. Having hashish or ancient science books in your inventory is also a bad idea. Early game though, it's unlikely you're going to have these items. Similarly, you're not going to want to have skeleton members in your party or prosthetic limbs on your characters if you're in Holy Nation territory. This will automatically aggro them. Similar to ancient science books and hashish though, it's unlikely you're going to have skeletons or prosthetics at the very start of a game. Provided you follow these guidelines and Stack, you'll be able to take advantage of the bakery, 3 bars, and 5 shops that are located there. I really like the combination of the general general shop and the mechanical shop here, because you'll have as many iron plates and building materials as you'll need. And while ancient science books are banned in the city, regular books are not. So you'll be able to do the introductory research in town if you want. For real estate, you'll have some great options for just starting off. First, there'll be a small shack that's collapsed, 2 regular small shacks, and a collapsed longhouse. Last but not least, for amenities, you have some of the best in the game, and one of which I did not know about until recently. There is a level 3 well in Stack, and you are free to loot it as many times as you want. While the level 3 well is nice and convenient, the biggest amenity that Stack has, I would say, is the copper ore vein that is inside city walls. This is truly a rare find. There's not a lot of cases where an ore vein is inside the city limits. Here it is, though, which means your characters can mine that copper vein in complete safety. It doesn't stop there either. There are 2 copper ore veins nearby outside the city, as well as an iron ore vein nearby. On balance, this is just way more than most other cities have to offer. And you pair that with Stack's central location, and you just have a beautiful combination for those getting started. Now, our third pick here, it might surprise some folks, but I ultimately have to go with the United Cities town of Stoat. I wouldn't say its location is as good as Squin or Stack, but it is pretty good nonetheless. If you want things to get more difficult for your characters, you can go west or south, and then of course in the northeast you'll have the United Cities territories, where there are a handful of other cities that you can utilize. Now, I'm giving the United Cities the same faction rating as the Holy Nation for a handful of different reasons. When you're in the Holy Nation, the requirements and restrictions, it acts like a checklist, and you either are following the rules or you're not. In the United Cities, though, it's a little more complicated because some of the situations you can be put into are actively annoying, and no amount of rule following is going to prevent it. To name a few, the guards could arrest you for being hungry. The guards, one of them could decide that they're going to accuse you of smuggling drugs as a way to extort money from you. And it also doesn't help that if one of your characters is knocked unconscious, it's totally possible for them to be enslaved. Enough doom and gloom, though, because the fact of the matter is, compared to the Holy Nation, the United Cities does have more freedom. You can have prosthetics, you can have characters from different races. The United Cities is very accepting on those fronts. It's just the oppressive economic system that comes into play instead. As far as available stores, Stoat passes with flying colors. There you have a bar, a bakery, as well as 7 shops. For properties, Stoat has an impressive showing. While these options are expensive, there is a variety of them, and you can always buy the small shack if you're just starting out and don't have a lot of money. Really, with this number of buildings, you could set it up to where you own half the city, and that feels good. For amenities, Stoat is well stocked in that area as well. There are 2 nearby copper veins, a nearby iron vein, and a sleeping bag area as well. Now, the sleeping bag area kind of has the appearance of a slum or place for homeless characters to live, but in practical terms, it's just nice having free sleeping bags available that you don't have to build or pay for. As a final consideration, I think it's worthwhile, if you're living in Stoat, to form an alliance with the United Cities. And this is very doable because there'll be outlaw farmers that you can turn in to improve your relations. So, if you made it this far in the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and want to see more content like it. For now, though, I want to move on to an honorable mention that I saved for last. This city will be for those who are looking for a more challenging and more rewarding option for starting off. Given that description, you might already have an idea where this is headed. Yeah, we're going to Mongrel in the Fog Islands. Now, I love Mongrel for so many different reasons, but a big reason is that no matter what stage in the game you're at, it is an excellent city to visit and perhaps even live in. It has a good location that's not too far away from the border zone and the Holy Nation, as well as Vane. And the faction, the Tech Hunters, are, I would say, the best faction that you could ask for in a city. They don't have any kinds of restrictions, and they don't over-police folks that live there. It gets even better, though, because the shops in Mongrel are superb. Off the top of my head, I can't even think of a city that has better shops than Mongrel. Maybe Black Scratch, but that's about it. The standout shop here is undoubtedly the robotics workshop. You can almost always find, at the very least, a specialist limb that you're looking for when you visit the shop. Although there are only 3 properties for sale here, they're good options. You have the 2 small shacks for starting out, and then a bigger Y house if you have something more elaborate going on in the city. And now we arrive at what is perhaps the greatest amenity on offer for any city in Kenshi. So, Mongrel has an ore drill level 3, which is automated. It runs 24/7 and you can freely loot it. This translates to a whole bunch of free iron that you can sell raw or manufacture into something else, like armor plating. And then on top of this automatic drill, you have a Shinobi Thieves Watchtower if you're interested in joining them, combined with 2 iron ore veins that are right outside the city gates. Well, I think that about covers it. That's 1 city, I think, for each major faction in the game. It's a good variety as far as map locations, and if you set up in one of these cities I mentioned here, you're going to be off to just a fantastic start, with options to either expand outward or develop your properties inside the city into something more. I will see you all next time, and thanks for tuning in.